In the wide, endless sky where sunrises stretch like paint across the morning, there floated a very, very small cloud named Poco. Poco wasn't like the other clouds. The big ones rolled through the sky like gentle giants. They dropped summer rains and spring showers, they painted rainbows, and sometimes even danced with lightning. They had names like Nimbus, Strato, and Cora. Big names. Important names. But Poco. He was barely bigger than a balloon and as light as a feather. His name was quiet, like a whisper in the wind. And the thing about Poco was, he had never rained. Not once. Not a drop. Not a drizzle. Not even a mist. Each day, Poco watched the sky grow busy. The other clouds gathered moisture from the lakes and rivers, turned dark and mighty, and showered the earth with life. When they passed over villages, children would run out with umbrellas. Farmers would cheer. Rivers would rise. Flowers would bloom. Poco would try too. He squeezed his fluff tight. He spun in circles. He held his breath. But all that ever came out was a soft huff, like steam from warm tea. Sometimes, the wind would pat him gently and say, "Maybe tomorrow, little one." The other clouds didn't tease him, but they didn't pay much attention either. They had work to do. Water to share. Maybe I'm too small, Poco thought. Maybe clouds like me don't rain at all. Still, every morning, he tried. Every afternoon, he drifted silently, watching the world below. And every night, he whispered, "Maybe tomorrow." One breezy afternoon, Poco was carried lower by a gentle wind. He wasn't sure where he was going, but the air felt dry, drier than any place he had floated over before. Below him stretched a wide, thirsty land. The grass was faded. The trees were few. Cracks ran across the soil like spider webs drawn by time. It had been a long, long time since this valley had seen rain. There were small farms and dusty paths, but most of all, there was quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like waiting. Poco hovered there, unsure. He saw a child walking between the rows of hard, dry earth. Her skin was tan, her boots dusty, and in her hand, she held a tiny watering can, even though the ground around her was too dry to grow anything. She looked up and saw Poco. Poco blinked. No one had ever noticed him before. Not really. The child smiled and waved. "Hi, little cloud," she called. "You look soft." Poco floated a little lower, shy but curious. "I hope you bring rain," the child said. "Even a little would help. But it's okay if you can't." Her words weren't sad. They were warm, kind, like a hand held out in trust. Poco wanted more than anything to help, to be useful, to try. So, for the 100th time, he closed his eyes and focused. He squeezed his fluff. He gathered every whisper of mist he had. He hummed softly. The air around him shimmered. A breeze paused to listen. And then, puff. Just a sigh. Just mist. No rain. Poco's heart sank, but the child below didn't seem disappointed. "You did your best," she said gently. "That matters." She knelt down beside a patch of dusty earth and whispered to it, "Maybe soon." And Poco floated there, touched and quiet, wondering if trying really was enough. That night, as the sun set and painted the valley gold, Poco stayed above the quiet land. Not because he was strong, not because he had reigned, but because someone had believed in him, and that made him feel just a little bit heavier, not in a bad way, but in a way that felt full. That night, Poco floated high above the sleeping valley. The stars sparkled like tiny fires across the sky, and the moon glowed gently, watching over the world. But Poco couldn't rest. He kept thinking about the child, her smile, and how she had whispered to the dry ground, "Maybe soon. Maybe soon." He wanted to believe it, but doubt still curled in his fluff. "What if I never reign?" he whispered to the stars. "What if I'm just decoration?" Just then, the wind came gliding softly through the sky. She was gentle tonight, swirling like a lullaby. "Still awake, little one?" she asked, circling around Poco like a ribbon of air. Poco nodded. "I want to help," he said. "But I try, and nothing happens." The wind paused, thoughtful. Then she blew a small gust and whispered, "Trying is never nothing." She twirled once and added, "But clouds don't just rain because they try. They rain because they carry enough and choose to let go." "Let go," Poco echoed. The wind didn't answer right away. Instead, she nudged Poco gently, guiding him over a glimmering lake far away from the valley. "Watch," she said. Below, the lake shimmered, then rippled. Vapor rose slowly into the air, like breath from the earth itself. "You see," said the wind. "Water remembers. It climbs skyward, hoping to become something new." Poco floated in silence. The rising vapor wrapped around him like a warm fog. He drank it in, not greedily, but gently. And then, he felt something stir inside him. A drop. Just one. Tiny. Quiet. "But there," he gasped. "Did I just—" "Shush," said the wind. "Let it build. Be patient." So Poco stayed. He gathered mist from the lake, sip by sip. He didn't rush. He didn't force. He just breathed. And for the first time, he felt full. Full of something more than fluff. Full of hope. Days passed, and Poco stayed near the lake, gathering gentle mist and learning to hold it close. But the valley below still thirsted. One bright morning, Poco felt a new stirring deep inside his cloud body. It was faint, like a secret waiting to bloom. He drifted back toward the dry valley, where the little girl stood once more, her eyes shining with hope. "Poco," she said softly, "I'm waiting." Poco took a deep breath and gathered all the mist he could find. The air grew cooler, the sky quieter. He closed his eyes and pushed with all his might. Then, a single drop of rain slipped from him and fell, glistening like a tiny jewel. Plip! Poco gasped. It was just one drop. Plip! Plip! 2 drops. The girl laughed and held out her hands, catching the drops like magic. Poco's heart swelled. He wasn't just a little cloud anymore. He was a cloud who had learned to try and let go. The dry earth drank the rain, opening its thirsty mouth to the gift. Seeds trembled beneath the surface. Plants woke. And the valley began to whisper with the soft sounds of new life. After his first drops, Poco felt different. He wasn't the smallest cloud anymore. He was a cloud who had learned to be brave. The valley below began to bloom. Flowers stretched toward the sky, rivers sang their way through the hills, and children laughed in the rain. Poco still wasn't the biggest cloud, and sometimes he still felt unsure. But now he knew that trying again and again was what mattered most. He drifted higher, watching the world wake up beneath him. The wind came by, swirling playfully. "You see, little cloud," she said, "being brave doesn't mean never falling. It means trying even when you're scared." Poco smiled, feeling the warmth of the sun through his fluffy body. He whispered to the sky, "I will always try." And as he floated across the endless blue, tiny drops of rain followed him, carrying hope to every thirsty place. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to believe in yourself, even if you're small.